Hey guys, how's it going? Jordan Locke here. There have been lots of lies and false narratives flying around the internet ever since the latest release of the Jeffrey Epstein documents. Some of you may remember that I think last month a judge ordered that these documents were unsealed, and these documents pertained to Jeffrey Epstein and his whole empire of trafficking. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, most of you have heard of it at this point. So during the continual release of these Jeffrey Epstein documents, what we've noticed along the way is that there are certain associates who Jeffrey Epstein seems to hang out with quite a bit, right? There are lots of faces that pop up. One of them is Bill Clinton, for example. Another person who we see with Epstein quite a bit, who comes up a lot, is Donald Trump. And the MAGA cult knows very well that the association of Epstein and Donald Trump is a lot closer than they'd like it to be. So lately, what you've noticed on the internet is the MAGA cult desperately trying to distance Donald Trump from Jeffrey Epstein and trying to marginalize their friendship and their, association and their relationship. If you were to listen to the MAGA cult, you would think that Donald Trump didn't even know Epstein, or that, they might have come across each other in passing once at a party. That's just not the case, unfortunately.
In a 2002 interview with New York Magazine, Trump showered praise on Epstein, calling him a, quote, terrific guy, and saying he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. After Epstein was arrested last year, Trump had a different tune.
So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over some of the biggest lies and biggest false narratives that the MAGA extremist cult have been trying to cultivate online in an effort to distance Trump from Epstein. We're going to go over a few of the biggest ones, and then we're going to go over, just as a reminder, some of the things that Trump has done in the past in regards to women, right? Because a lot of people I'm seeing this narrative, especially with the conservative far-right Christians. And when I say far-right Christians, I'm not talking real Christians. I'm talking about the Bible Belt conservative fake Christians who on the one hand pretend to be, just people of God, good Christian folk who love everybody and don't want to see any type of discrimination. And then on the other hand are some of the most homophobic, misogynistic, and racist people you will ever meet. And that pattern of these sort of Bible Belt evangelicals and Christians has been going on for a while. That's a topic for a different video, and we will definitely get into that at some point.
For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ada ambo osa kata rite eke banda.
Lord, I thank you that America didn't need a preacher in the Oval Office. It did not need a professional politician in the Oval Office, but it needed a fighter and a champion for freedom. And Lord, do something so great in him and in this nation that the pundits on TV and the news anchors will be amazed at how great America is, because God is great in America again.
So according to the narrative of these fake Bible Belt Christians, Donald Trump is apparently some Holy Spirit who has been sent by Jesus down to the USA to help them fight against the evil forces of the Democratic Party and the evil forces of groups like, the LGBTQ community and minorities and women, all these evil groups who just want to be equal and have equal rights. All of these groups are a plague and an evil on this country, and the holy warrior Donald Trump will come down and save all of these so-called good Christians from all of these evil forces who want nothing more than equality and equal rights, right? So they've sort of portrayed Donald Trump as this heroic biblical figure who's going to come down and save them. This entire narrative that Trump is like some kind of heroic holy figure is absolutely ridiculous, but this is the way that the conservatives like to paint Trump, right? So In an effort to paint him this way, they are trying their hardest to distance Trump and his association with Epstein, to try and make you forget that these two were actually really close, okay? Now, the extent of what Epstein did with Trump, we don't really know, okay? But the narrative that they're pushing, that they barely knew each other, that Trump barely knew Epstein, is absolutely 100% a lie. It's false. And we are going to go over some of the points today that show that that is nothing but a MAGA cult lie to try and marginalize the deep friendship that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump had. But before we get into that, guys, if you appreciate progressive political commentary, then like and subscribe to this channel because I will be bringing you lots and lots of it. Okay, so addressing the first lie that the MAGA extremists are spreading around the internet, that Donald Trump's name is not in the newest release of Jeffrey Epstein documents. That, in fact, is untrue, and it is a lie. Donald Trump's name is in the documents. If you go to page 78 of the documents, which details a deposition of one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, you will clearly see here that the victim talks about Jeffrey Epstein referencing Donald Trump. And we're going to talk about why this disproves two MAGA lies right after I read to you what this page says. So this particular part of the deposition starts on page 78. Did you see her on the plane or on the trip to New York engage in any kind of affectionate or sexual contact with Jeffrey? And here the victim is being asked about Jeffrey Epstein's contact with Ghislaine Maxwell. Did you see her on the plane or on the trip to New York engaged in any kind of affectionate or blank contact with Jeffrey? No. With Ghislaine? No. How did it come to be that you were in the casino in Atlantic City? Well, we were flying. Jeffrey said, "Why don't you go sit up at the cockpit to check out the landing?" So I was sitting there in the cockpit, and the pilot told me to go back and tell Jeffrey that we can't land in New York and that we'd have to land in Atlantic City. Jeffrey said, "Great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to blank. I don't recall the name of the casino, but we'll go to that casino." So here is a Jeffrey Epstein victim relating in a deposition the fact that Jeffrey Epstein stated here that because they couldn't land Jeffrey Epstein's plane in New York, they were going to have to land somewhere near Atlantic City. So this actually disproves two MAGA cult lies. The first lie is that Trump's name is not in these documents. We just showed you where it is in these documents, and Jeffrey Epstein is relating Trump's name to one of his victims. The second MAGA lie that it disproves is the MAGA extremist lie that has to do with what happened at Mar A Lago with Jeffrey Epstein. So a lot of these MAGA extremists are all over Twitter and all over YouTube and the internet trying to push this narrative that Trump may have been friends with Jeffrey Epstein at some point. But then Jeffrey Epstein approached a young girl at his club in the wrong way, maybe in a way that was not appropriate, and then suddenly Trump banned him from Mar A Lago and they never spoke again.
Claiming he kicked Epstein out of Mar A Lago years before.
He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
If that's the case, and earlier, many years earlier, Trump banned Epstein from Mar A Lago, why is Epstein still referencing Trump here and saying, okay, if we can't land in New York, we're going to land in Atlantic City and go to Trump's casino? How do those two things make sense? Both of those can't be true, right? Either Trump barred Jeffrey Epstein from Mar A Lago and didn't speak with him again because of his inappropriate behavior with a young girl, or that's a lie and Trump actually was still speaking with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so that disproves two MAGA lies. The third lie that the MAGA cult is desperately trying to push on the internet is the fact that Trump never flew with Epstein. That's actually not true at all. We've seen many times, it wasn't released in this particular group of documents, but we've seen many times in the past where Jeffrey Epstein's flight log was mentioned, right? And it was related to the public. Trump's name showed up in Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs 7 times. So yes, these two spent a lot of time together on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Now, other people spent more time. Yes, Bill Clinton, for example, spent a ton of time. I think he was on Jeffrey Epstein's flight list like 11 times or 12 times or something like that. Okay, but the fact of the matter is that both Bill Clinton and Donald Trump were on Jeffrey Epstein's plane numerous times, okay? So this whole narrative that Donald Trump never flew with Epstein is absolute nonsense and is a lie. They flew together multiple times. So what do these associations between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein prove at the end of the day? Does it prove that Donald Trump is 100% guilty, that he definitely participated in the kind of things that Jeffrey Epstein liked to participate in? Does it prove that he's innocent? Well, it doesn't prove that he's guilty. We don't have any proof of that. But contrary to what the MAGA cult wants you to believe, it doesn't prove that he's innocent either, right? There is clearly, what we do know as a fact is that there was clearly a relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. There was an ongoing relationship. The extent of that relationship, we don't know, right? But these two were buddies for a very long time. Contrary to the way Donald Trump portrays this relationship, and contrary to the way the Bible Belt MAGA cult portrays this relationship, these two were buddy-buddy. Here's another very interesting point that it seems the MAGA cult missed in regards to Donald Trump and his association with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So some of you may remember that a few years back, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Jeffrey Epstein's associate, right? This was sort of the woman who went around as the motherly figure and sort of obtained women, young girls, for Jeffrey Epstein to be with, we'll call it, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell was a person who enabled him by being this sort of female, very friendly face to these young girls so that they would immediately drop their guard and gain trust in her. And then she turned around and abused that trust and fed these young girls to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is who Ghislaine Maxwell was. Ghislaine Maxwell was recently caught, not recently, but a few years ago, was caught hiding in New Hampshire. She bought a home in New Hampshire and thought she was going to live quietly in the woods, happily ever after. However, that was not the case. The police and the FBI found her and she was arrested. Now, everybody who has been following this case to some extent knows that Ghislaine Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein's right hand when it comes to these abuses that Jeffrey Epstein perpetrated. She had insider knowledge of the associates that Jeffrey Epstein kept, some of these celebrities and very powerful people who were in his orbit and being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein with these young girls. She was a part of this entire thing, okay? She knew all of these people who were going into this. She was a part of this entire thing. In fact, almost every single one of Epstein's victims references Ghislaine Maxwell. And they reference the fact that Ghislaine came to them and sort of tried to approach them in this really friendly, nice way, brought them to Epstein, and then that's how the abuse began. So the point here is that for anybody who's been paying the most remote attention to this entire thing, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are just as guilty as each other in this entire world of trafficking, right? Everybody knows this. I'm sure Trump had been following this story because he knows that his name is tied in very closely with Jeffrey Epstein. So when Trump was president, oh God, I honestly still can't even believe that Trump was president for 4 years. Like the thought is just absolutely disgusting. But when Trump was president between 2016 and 2020, he was asked by a reporter at one point whether he thought that Ghislaine Maxwell was going to come forward and make all of the names public of these rich people, these celebrities, these powerful people who were using Jeffrey Epstein's services. This is how Trump answered the question.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. And so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well. Whatever it is, I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
I haven't been following it, but I wish her well, frankly. First of all, yes, Donald, you have been following this because you know very well that your name is tied in with Jeffrey Epstein. So don't lie and tell people that you haven't been following this. We're all 100% sure that you have been following this because we don't know just how close, just how much of an association you had with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? But you clearly didn't just say hi and bye with him at some event and that was it, okay? You were much closer than the picture that you are trying to paint for the public. So why are you saying that you haven't been following this very closely? And then on top of that, saying about a person who is just as guilty as Jeffrey Epstein in soliciting these young girls and this entire cycle of abuse, a person who fixed all of these situations for Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, why is the only thing that you have to say about her that you wish her well? This is very clearly a red flag, okay? He has nothing bad to say about a person tied in with this Jeffrey Epstein scandal who is just as guilty as Jeffrey Epstein, and Trump has nothing bad to say about her. He has all these negative things to say about Jeffrey Epstein, but he has nothing bad to say about Maxwell. When they very clearly had a close relationship together, you can see them together in plenty of pictures on the internet. They hung out together all the time. Trump with Melania and Epstein with Ghislaine Maxwell. They hung out together quite a bit. Why is he suddenly trying so hard to disassociate himself from her? As if all of these things that we're talking about weren't enough, what about the allegations that surfaced in 2016, where a woman stated that she was 13 years old when she went to Epstein's mansion and Trump was there with Epstein, and this woman states that at 13 years old, she was abused by Donald Trump. Now, that was one person's statement. There was then another person who came who acted as sort of a fixer for Jeffrey Epstein and found younger girls for him to be with. And even that person stated that she was there when Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were abusing this 13-year-old girl. And I'm going to leave a link. I'm going to leave a link to everything that I discuss here, okay? Because the point of this video is that we are trying to separate fact from fiction, right? The MAGA cult are trying to push a lot of these false narratives, trying to distance Trump from Epstein, and we are covering the facts of what is known with Epstein and Trump. And we are covering the facts in terms of Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with Donald Trump. Now, I don't know what happened here. I don't know whether this is true or not, but the fact in this statement is that a victim came forward in 2016 and said that she was abused by Trump at Epstein's mansion. And then another female came forward later and said that she saw this 13-year-old victim abused by Donald Trump at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. This victim then decided to withdraw the case because she was getting threats, death threats, and then she reopened the case again a few years later. Okay, so don't forget about these allegations, guys. This is a very real thing. These allegations came forward in 2016, and we still have not seen a conclusion to this, where this young woman states that at 13 years old, she was abused by Donald Trump at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. So don't allow the MAGA crowd to do what they're doing and try to distance Trump from Epstein and pretend that they barely knew each other and that, they said hi in passing at an event one time and that was it. No. Trump and Epstein were much closer than that. Trump flew on Epstein's plane multiple times. As we've stated earlier, Epstein references Trump in depositions made by Epstein's victims much later than when Trump said that he barred Jeffrey Epstein from Mar A Lago because of advances that he made. These are just some of the things, okay? These allegations. So this entire situation with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is very murky at best. Now, do we know for a fact that these things happened? No, we don't know for a fact, but they don't paint a good picture for him. Let's put it that way. Why is Donald Trump associating with a guy who is so disgusting? Why does he have this relationship with this man and Ghislaine Maxwell? Why is it that when we go on the internet, we can see tons of pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and Melania together hanging out, partying? Why is this the guy that Donald Trump chooses to hang out with? So overall, what kind of picture do these things paint about Donald Trump's character? This holy warrior, according to the Bible Belt MAGA cult, this holy warrior who's come down to wage the sword of justice against the evils of democracy. What kind of picture do these things paint about Donald Trump? At most, something extremely sinister and at very best disturbing, okay? Especially when we tie in the things that we know about Donald Trump already that don't have to do with Epstein, okay? Let's take Stormy Daniels into consideration, right? This is the adult movie star who Donald Trump cheated on Melania with, right? Months after Melania had Donald Trump's son, Trump was cheating with an adult movie star and then used campaign funds to give her money to keep her quiet about it. Is that something that Jesus' holy warrior would do? What about Trump's first marriage when he was married to Ivanka? and he cheated on Ivana with Marla Maple. This is a very well-known thing that happened in the 90s. Trump was married to Ivana, and within a few years of being married, he started cheating on her with Marla Maples, who was a model at the time, and eventually that broke up the marriage between Donald Trump and Ivana, and then he married Marla Maples. So here we have him again cheating on a person who he was married to. So this is the holy warrior that the MAGA extremist cult is saying is going to come down and defend them from evil and the forces of darkness. This guy who's literally just a philanderer and cheating on all of his wives and having all of these affairs. And let's not forget the assault allegations. Almost 30 women have come forward stating that Donald Trump has inappropriately assaulted them at some point within the last 30 years, right? Almost 30 women. For example, a woman named Jessica Leeds came forward and alleged that Trump groped her on an airplane in the 1970s, which the president has repeatedly denied. Leeds went in public for the first time on October 12th. This was 2016, around the same time that the allegations were made against Trump that he was at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion abusing multiple underage girls. Apparently one was 13 and the other one was 12, according to the deposition of one of the victims. Jessica Leeds came out for the first time after Trump made his infamous statement to Access Hollywood in 2005. You remember the statement where he said that he just went around and grabbed girls by the blank because they allowed you to do it?
Donald Trump was caught on a hot mic in 2005, bragging in vulgar language about kissing, groping, and trying to have with a married woman.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the I can do anything.
Kristen Anderson told the Washington Post that Trump put his hand up her skirt and in her underwear in the 90s. After the story's publication, ABC News spoke to a friend of Anderson, Brad Trent, who said that the woman told him that this happened the exact same time that it happened in the 90s, but had never said anything about it until she came forward in public to state this. But putting your hands up women's skirts shouldn't be a problem, right? Because we all remember when Trump stated that he just grabs girls by the blank and that it's not a problem and that they allow him to do it because he's rich and he's a powerful guy. This is God's holy warrior, according to the extremist MAGA cult, who went around essentially saying that he assaulted women and had no problem with it. They just let you do it because he was rich and powerful. Jill Harth said she had dinner with Trump and her then boyfriend, George Horaney, in 1992. When Trump allegedly tried to put his hands between her legs, she alleged that he also tried to kiss her during a tour of his Mar A Lago estate in Florida, right? So again, these are alleged incidents that occurred according to these women, right? So we don't know if these actually happened or not, but when you tie this in with Trump's own words, when he was proud of assaulting women because they just let you do it because he's rich and powerful, what kind of picture does that paint? What does that tell you? Kathy Heller, who first spoke to the Guardian newspaper about an alleged incident that happened on Mother's Day in 1997, where she said she went to Mar A Lago to meet Trump, and she put her hand out to shake Trump's hand and say hello, and he grabbed her unexpectedly and started to kiss her on the lips. She pulled away, and he said, "Oh no, come on." Heller told ABC News that this happened in front of her family. Temple Taggart was a 21-year-old Miss Utah when she participated in the Miss USA contest in 1997. She said Trump, who owned the pageant at the time, kissed her directly on the lips. She first shared the story with the New York Times in May 2016, and Taggart, who now uses her married name of McDowell, reiterated her claims to ABC News through her lawyer, Gloria Allred. Trump denied all the allegations to the Times, saying he is reluctant to kiss strangers on the lips. Yeah, because we've seen that. He's so reluctant that every single one of these women almost has the same exact story where Trump forces himself on them. So what we're seeing here is a pattern of behavior, according to these women, where a person who bragged about sexually assaulting women did what he said he was going to do and assaulted women. We have almost 30 people coming forward, and those are just some of the stories. There are plenty of more, and maybe I'll do a video on it at some point in the future. These are just some of the stories of women who say that Trump actually practiced what he preached, which was assaulting women and grabbing them by the blank because they just let you do it when you're rich and famous, okay? On top of all these things, let's not forget the comments that Trump made about his own daughter.
Said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Oh, it's so weird.
Stop. You know what? You are sick.
Far from protecting his daughter from being talked about as a sex object, he has encouraged it multiple times. On Howard Stern's radio show in 2004 and then again in 2006.
By the way, your daughter,
she's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
Donald Trump repeatedly points out how hot his daughter is, saying last year in a Rolling Stone article, "Yeah, she's really something, and what a beauty, that one. If I weren't happily married and, you know, her father."
So this is a huge problem, okay? All of these things point to huge red flags about Trump's character. There's a narrative being pushed that Donald Trump was not as close to Jeffrey Epstein as he actually was, okay? What we do know is that Donald Trump was a lot closer to Epstein than the Bible Belt conservatives and the MAGA cult want you to believe, okay? And the other thing that we know about Donald Trump is that despite this aura that the MAGA cult wants to paint about him, that he has come down from the heavens to smite the Democratic Party and the evil forces of minorities and the LGBTQ community and women, despite the fact that he's come down to save the conservative Bible Belt MAGA extremists, we know that there is nothing holy about Trump's character and who Trump is, okay? And history has shown us that over and over and over again. There's nothing righteous about Trump. There's nothing holy about Trump. He's pretty despicable, okay? Cheats on his wife multiple times, dozens of allegations of assault by women. This entire thing with Jeffrey Epstein, this murky situation where he's flown with Jeffrey Epstein many times, and there are allegations by underage women, by underage girls who say that, Trump abused them, the comments he made about his daughter. Trump is not a good person, okay? Despite what the MAGA cult wants you to believe, because he appeases their insecurities, so he makes them feel good, so then they turn around and they try to paint this rosy picture of Donald Trump. He is not as nice as they want you to believe, okay? Trump is a pretty nasty, despicable human being, and the proof is out there if you really want to find it. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I think this is pretty important in light of the recent Epstein documents that were released. I will be making more videos on this subject and similar subjects in the future. Please like and subscribe if you appreciate this content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.